Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm doing a full solo playthrough of Civolution. This might look like a civilization building game, but really it's more like a civilization themed Euro game. The theme is actually kind of crazy. You play as like deities taking an exam in civilization design or something like that. Look, forget about the theme. Now I went ahead and I got everything set up for a solo game. Setup is extensive because everything in this game is randomized. These map tiles are randomized. The different sites that you can explore are randomized. What each territory produces is randomized. We also have random goals here, random income chips, random attribute chips. We've shuffled up these 5 decks of cards. We have 4 random events, and we randomize the scoring for each of the 4 eras, as well as the bonus scoring at the end of the game. I've also set up my board here, and when you're first starting out playing the game, you're going to want to just take one of these random starting marker cards, and whichever number is at the bottom, in my case 3, you want to take the matching starting chips card, as well as 1 card from each of the 5 decks that has the same number at the bottom. That's going to be your starting hand of cards. And these 2 cards are going to give you all of your starting resources. So you can see here, I'm starting with a cotton and a copper. I also have 1 food, 2 money, 1 focus, 2 ideas, and then 1 dexterity and 1 vision feature. That's what these are called down here. That's what this card's giving me. Then this card is showing me we get a random goal chip, which I put right here. And this is also showing me that I can take my exploration console. We have 15 of these consoles, which are basically the actions that we can take during the game. And they have 3 levels. So we start them all on level 1, but I get to start with my exploration at level 2. It's very simple. You just flip it over. So that's the level 1. And now I can just flip it to level 2. Each level, the action is very similar, just a little bit better. I then take this card and I tuck it right under here, and that shows a bonus income that I can get during the game. We're also going to start with 1 pink die and then 1 die for each of the numbers 1 through 6. And then I've set up our solo opponent here, V.I.C.I. Just lay out these cards, shuffle their deck, give them 2 features and 2 prosperity diamonds. 6 white dice and 1 pink die. And there we go. That's setup complete. Now, I know that was a lot, but I'm going to explain everything as I play rather than doing it all up front, like I always do. So let's just dive in and get started, and I promise everything will make sense. We're going to be playing 4 eras. And each eras, we have a series of phases that we go through, and it's all laid out right there. The first thing that happens is we get new cards. And that means that we would just flip over a new event, and we would flip over a new card in each of these 5 decks. Now, I've already done that to start out the game. We then move to the new goals phase. We're going to get to pick one of these 4 goals to add to our little goal area here. These are just little things that we can complete over the course of the game to get some points and to be able to flip over our actions and make them better. Since we start as the first player, we get to choose first. I think I'll just take this one, which is just to spend an herb to complete that goal. We have 18 different resources down here, and we get those by exploring the land and producing stuff and then transporting it into our supply. My other goal is just to spend 1 sand, so those shouldn't be too hard to complete. And now for V.I.C.I here, we just roll a die. Okay, so a 5. There's only 4 there, so if she rolls a 5 or a 6, she just takes nothing. If she had rolled a 2, 3, or a 4, she would have taken that particular goal, and she would just discard it. She doesn't need to keep the goals. And then we're just going to immediately refill. So we have a bag with all the goals in it. Easy enough. The next phase is the extra finds phase. In this phase, we get to take a good of our choice, but only from a terrain where we have at least 1 tribe present. So as you can see at the start of the game, we have a tribe in a forest terrain as well as this grassland terrain. So that means that we get to pick from any of the 3 forest resources and the grassland resources. So I might want to choose an herb here because that's what I need for this goal. Or I could look at my cards because these often need resources as well. Like for instance, this one needs papyrus. I think I will just choose an herb for now. And V.I.C.I ignores this phase, so we can just move right on to the main phase, the action phase. This is the meat of the game where we're going to go back and forth taking turns doing actions. And the way we take actions in this game is by spending our white dice. At the moment here, we have 6 dice, all numbered 1 through 6. Later in the game, we're going to be re-rolling these dice and get, random numbers. And over here, we have all of the 16 different actions that we can take. Each of these actions requires 2 specific dice numbers. So for instance, my upgraded exploration action there requires a 1 and a 4. And you can see here, they're kind of organized based on the numbers that they need. So this needs a 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then everything down here needs a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now this action over here can take any 2 dice, that's sleep action. And then we can also get new features, which are these things down here, by spending 2 of the same dice that is right above it. So if we wanted to get some intelligence, we'd have to spend 2 2s. That's almost like 6 more different actions that we could take with these dice. Lots and lots of different options. I'm not going to explain what all of these actions do up front. I'll explain them as I do them, just so we can get moving here and start playing. I think for my first action, I'm going to use the 6 and the 2 and do a mutation. And a mutation is going to either let me move one of my features to another spot, or play a green card from my hand. A mutation card. And I have this one right here that I want to play. This biosonar. I'm immediately giving my race of people excellent hearing. Now the requirement for playing this card depends on where I place it in my console. We have all these different areas here that we can play these cards, or we can tuck them. These different columns. And there's basically 5 different levels. So if I tuck it into this ground level here, we're going to cover it all up so only this remains. And you can see on the side there, it shows that if you tuck it here, then you only need to spend what's in that leftmost column. In this case, that's having 1 vision, which we have. Now, if I were to tuck it up here at level 2, then I'd need to satisfy the first 2 columns. And in this case, I'd need a second vision. I would need 2 vision in order to do it there. Now, I can't do that. I only have 1. And furthermore, if you tuck it at the 3rd spot or the 4th level or the 5th level, you need to possibly do even more. Now, in this case, these are empty, so I could get this to the 5th level, say tucking it over here, and I'd still only need those 2 vision. So I actually have to tuck this in the 1st level. Now, I don't have to spin that vision, I just have to have it. Now, right here, I get an immediate bonus. That's what that lightning symbol means. And in this case, I get to move up on this track over here. I'll explain what that track does just a little bit later. And now we just tuck this in. At the end of the game, this is going to be worth 2 points, as it shows right here. Anything in level 2 is worth 3 points, and then 4, and then possibly 7 or 10 for levels 4 and 5, if we can get these flipped up. Again, I'll explain that later. But this card also comes with an ongoing special ability. It says that for each site that you reveal during exploration, you're going to get an additional point. That's great for me because I plan on doing a lot of exploration. My exploration has already been upgraded to level 2, so that's a nice synergy. That's the end of my turn. We now go over to V.I.C.I, and they take a turn by simply flipping over the top card of their deck. And we're going to be playing on the 2nd easiest difficulty level, on the moderate difficulty level, I think it's called. And when you're playing on the moderate difficulty level, you always look at the blue section for the first 3 eras. And then in the final fourth era, we'll look at the red section. So for right now, we're just looking at this blue section, and it says that next era's scoring category ×2. So that means V.I.C.I is going to look ahead and look at the second era's scoring. In that case, we're going to be scoring for this category right here, this technology category. And so we can look down here and see that she's just going to move up once on that track. And because it says ×2, she's going to do it twice. And that's it. That's their turn. It now comes back to us. Turns can be very quick in this game, just going back and forth, back and forth. I think now that I have this card installed, I want to do an exploration action. So that's going to take a 1 and a 4. And I haven't needed to use these yet, but these ideas here, they're going to let you increase or decrease your die by 1. So I could spend an idea to move this 3 from either a 2 or to a 4. Not only that, but you can use it to wrap them around. So you can turn a 6 into a 1 and vice versa. And you can spend as many ideas in one turn as you want. This focus here, and we start with 1, that is a wild. That can be used as basically any die. So this focus is really powerful. But we had the numbers we needed, so now we can do our exploration, and it's at level 2. So we need to pick one of our tribes, and then we're going to get to flip over all of the sites that are adjacent to that area. So I think I'll pick this tribe right here. We have 2 sites that are adjacent. We also have 2 sites that are adjacent up there. So we're going to flip these over, and we're going to get points for what we discover. Ooh, okay, so we found a volcano. You can see the points up in the corner there. That's going to give us 4 points. Plus, because of our biosonar, we get an extra point for each one. So that's going to give us 5 points. We're in the lead right out of the gate. Now, each of these sites kind of affects the surrounding terrain, the adjacent terrain. And in the case of a volcano, that's pretty bad. We can't build farms in a territory adjacent to a volcano. So that's not great. Ah, okay, and now we have a building ground there. That's only going to give us 1 point for discovering it, plus 1, so 2. And a building ground is where we can build some statues or a settlement. I'll explain what those are a little bit later. Now, with a level 1 Explore, that would be all that we get to do. But because we're at level 2, we actually can do a extra Explore of a site anywhere on the map, wherever we want. So let's maybe hit one that's kind of far away that we, might not be able to get to. Maybe all the way up there in that right corner. Oh no, that was another building site. That's unfortunate because we're only going to get the 1 point plus 1, so 2. Some of these sites can give you a bunch of points for discovering them, so that was a little bit of a dud. But if you look on the tile here, we also get an additional 2 points. So that action netted us 11 points in total, pretty good. Now, that exploration action has an alternative action that you could take, and that would just be to sort of get a random good. You can pick a territory, and then you'd roll your pink die, and depending on if you rolled, 1 or 2, you'd take whatever is in the top row, 3 or 4, 5 or 6. But there we go, we're done. V.I.C.I gets to go. We just flip their next card over, and we put it like this. We need to be able to see these marks here on the left side, because that's going to determine when they reset. Their action here is the 4th era's scoring category. So we're going to look over there again. Looks like they want to move up on the construction track, and they're only going to do it 1 time. There we go. Their turns are really that simple. It's right back to us. At this point, we only have 2 white dice remaining, which means we now have a choice. Anytime you have 3 or less white dice, you have the option of resetting. When you reset, you get to re-roll all of your spent dice, as well as you can choose any dice that you haven't spent. You could also re-roll those if you want, or you could leave them. and then you place out your dice. I don't want to reset yet. I'll show you how reset works here in the next turn, but I want to spend these dice. I want to do a planning action. Now, in order to do a planning action, I need a 3 and a 4. And right now I have a 3 and a 5. So I'm going to spend one idea, turn that 5 into a 4, and boom, we got what we need. Now, again, I have 2 choices of actions. The one on the right means that I could get 2 planning markers. To get a planning marker, you pick a number, let's say 3, and I would put 2 markers on there. Those are basically the equivalent of having a white die that's value 3. And for the planning marker there, for that action, they have to go on the same number. So this is a great action to take if you didn't get exactly the numbers that you wanted. That might be a way of getting them without having to use an idea. Now, I don't want to do that. Instead, I want to do the other action, which is to complete a goal. And that's what these are right here. So I'm going to complete this goal here, which just requires me to spend an herb, which I have. We're going to flip that over, and now this can also go into my console. It doesn't come with any requirements, though. So I'm actually going to place it here in my level 2. Now, where I couldn't put it is in this column here, because now that I've put a green card in this column, green cards can only go in this column. So if I complete extra green cards, they're going to have to go here. And that also means that no other color of card could go in here, or token. Now, the only thing that breaks that rule are these income chips. Those are wild and can go into any column. But I'm going to place this right here. So this is where my goals are going to go now, this column. And you can see here, it's going to be worth 3 points at the end of the game. And because they're small, you can have 2 fit in each of these rows. And now I get an extra bonus, which is when you complete one of these, it reveals this, which is we can flip one of our action tiles to the next level. So if I wanted to, I could make my exploration level 3 right out of the gate. It's very tempting. The only difference is I would get 2 extra points or be able to take sort of 2 random goods rather than 1. Instead, though, I want to get my procreation action to level 2. Back to V.I.C.I. All right, and now it looks like we're going to have to roll to see what she does. All right, we rolled a 4, which she's going to move up 1 more on the technology track. She's already at level 3 on there, which is not great because in Era 2, we're going to be scoring 4 points for each level on that track. Here in Era 1, at the end of Era 1, we're going to be scoring for this track here, this culture track, 5 points. So that is something I definitely want to focus on and trying to move up this track before the end of the first era. And here we go. We're out of dice, so we are going to reset. So what you do is you look at your leftmost marker here, and we just go down here to A, and it shows us that the first thing that we do is we move the marker to the right. And that marker is the timing for the action round. As soon as that marker reaches the bottom there, then the action phase will be over. Next, we re-roll all of our spent dice. All right, that is more low numbers than I was hoping for. And now we get to take this marker and we can either place it here as an idea, or we can place it up here for some food. I think for now, I want the idea. And there we go. That is the reset action. That is our entire turn. So now it goes over to V.I.C.I. She's going to draw this card, and I thought she might reset, but she's not going to. And the way you tell whether she's going to reset is if they have at least 4 of both the red circles and the blue squares. They need to have 4 of both at least. So there's only 3 blue squares, so they're going to continue to take actions. Got to roll again. Oh, we rolled a 6, so they're going to get a prosperity diamond. And we just keep track of them here by placing like that. And they're going to put a hunting marker out. So basically, we look at that table there in the upper left, and we see that the forest is the best place for hunting. Well, first is the ocean, and then the forest. And we can see that they are in a forest terrain, so that's going to be where they place their hunting marker. And each terrain can only have 1 hunting marker in it per era. So that just means that now we can't perform any hunting in that forest. They're blocking us from hunting. Okay, now we go back to our turn. And I think since we rolled so low, I'm just going to do another exploration action. That's a 1 and a 4. And we'll just do our tribe right there. We have those 2. This one is not adjacent because we have sort of this mountain range right there. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's 5 points plus 1. So we get 6 points for discovering it. But that is a Gorge of the Grim Wolves. That's a bad location because that's going to cost us a food if we have a tribe adjacent to that during the feeding phase. Or rather, during the sight phase. But you'll see that coming up here. We don't have to worry about it yet. Okay, another building ground. That's just 2 points. Let's try that corner there for our extra explore. Ah, and that's a holy rock. That's just going to be 2 points plus 1. And oh, and I get 2 additional points. So 24 points, not bad. And now I think for sure V.I.C.I, yeah, V.I.C.I is now going to reset. Has at least 4 of each. So we ignore the card that we just drew. We just take them, discard, and we move the marker. One thing I definitely want to do is I want to play this theater. Now to play a building card, we have to come up here and do that building action. That's going to require a 4 and a 6. Now, I don't have a 6. I'm not even close to a 6. So I think what I want to do is I'll spin the 4 and I'll spin my focus. That'll give me the 6 that I need. And then this is going to cost a cotton, which I have. And I don't need to spend the rest of it because I'm going to put it down here at level 1. And the reward I get immediately is to move up the culture track. And now I have a sort of ongoing effect that I can use. That symbol there means an activity. Right here, one of our actions is that we can do 1 activity. And if I take that action, then I could use this in order to move up the culture track again, which is what I want to do. But we'll have to wait to do that on our next action. Oh no, culture. Ah, and rolled the 2. So it's going to move up 1 on the culture track. That's a shame. And is going to take another pink die. Now, these are extra dice that we can get. We also have that ability using this 6-5 action up there. The achievement action. We could also take one of those dice. Either the white or the pink. Might think about doing that next round. For now, let's just take that activity. Spending a 2 and a 3. And I'll just move up 1 on the culture track. And now we have crossed that line, which shows that we can upgrade one of our modules. But unlike these goals where we could upgrade any of them, here on these tracks, we have to upgrade one that has a color that relates to the track. So in this case, this is the purple track, the 5 track. So we can only upgrade one of these 5s, one of these actions that have a 5 on it. I could get procreation all the way to level 3, but no, let's get production up to level 2. Okay, nice. Rolling again. 3. Going up the technology track. Now, V.I.C.I ignores these unless she gets points. Then she'll take the points. But otherwise, it's just ignored. And taking another pink. Okay, fair enough. I now only have 1 die, so I am going to reset again. There we go. And then I'm going to take the food this time. You can see how fast this moves. Almost resetting, but not quite. So this era scoring category ×1. They're going to move up the culture track. Well, at least we're keeping pace, so that's fine. I think I'll go ahead and spend my 5 and 6 in order to get an extra die. You can get an extra white or an extra pink die. I'm going to go for the white. You get to roll it immediately and add it. Just like that. Now with that action, you could alternatively use it to play an achievement card, the purple cards. Okay, now V.I.C.I's probably resetting indeed. We're getting close to the end. It's next time that goes down, that's going to signal the end of the phase. We'll get 1 more turn, and then the phase will end. I really want to do production, and I'm glad I rolled that 3. Because I need a 3 and a 5. I've upgraded it, so I can now do 3 production. And now we haven't sort of moved about the, the map very much yet. So right now I can only produce in these 2 areas. And you're producing raw goods this way. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1 here for the papyrus. You can see what the region produces. And I'll get 2 wood there. And now we started with the raw goods. So right now I have 3 raw wood resources and 2 raw papyrus resources. But I can't spend them until I transport them into my supply. And that's what that symbol means. So now I can transport 1 of any of my raw resources into my supply. I'll do the wood. And there we go. That's the production action. 2. Okay, V.I.C.I is making a statue. And so we just put that there in that middle building ground. She can place as many statues there as she wants. I'm not too upset about that. That's fine. I really want to do a transport action so I can transport 3 more raw goods into my supply. But with 3 4s, that's not going to really work. What I could do is do an early reset. The problem is I'd only get 1 more action. So instead of doing that, I'm going to spend an idea. Make that a 3. Then spend a 4 and a 3 to do a planning and get 2 planning markers. I'm going to put them on the 1. There we go. So V.I.C.I is going to do each of the 3 scoring categories with scoring tiles in the final scoring area from left to right. So she's going to move up 1 on this track. This shows that she's just going to gain one of these features, just like that. And then this last scoring is for territories, and that means that she's going to want to migrate. Now, this is one of the more complicated actions that V.I.C.I can take, so I'm going to walk you through it here for the first time pretty slowly. Now she's only going to migrate from a territory where she has at least 2 tribes. And if she doesn't have a territory with at least 2 tribes in it, which is exactly the situation we are right now, she's going to first populate one of those regions. So when she takes this procreation action, she's going to pick a region where she has at least 1 tribe and also at least 1 free encampment, which are these spaces here that our tribes are standing on. Tribes can either be on these encampments or they can be out in the wilderness. And it's better if they're in an encampment. Now, both of these 2 territories satisfy those conditions. So we're going to roll. Okay, we got a 3. And then we're going to look here at this map. So she's going to start by favoring a mountain region. Well, neither of those are mountain regions. So then we just follow the arrow. Her next priority is grasslands. And boom, we have a grassland right there. So that's where she's going to place her new tribe. Now she placed it in this sort of special encampment, which is going to give her immediately 1 point. And now she can do her migrate action because she has 2 tribes in a region. She wants to go to a territory where she has the fewest tribes. And right now we have 3 ties at 0, right? We have this grassland, we have this adjacent desert, and then we have these swamps. So again, because those are tied, we got to roll. Roll to 2, and that's the swamp. So she's going to favor moving into the swamp. And she's always going to move first if she has a tribe on this, what they call the fire encampment. That's like the better encampment that has, you know, the access to fire. So she's going to move that one, and then she's going to move onto the fire encampment if it's available, which it is, and she's going to score those 2 points. When she goes into a new region, like that has never been discovered before, we flip the production marker. Okay, that area is producing coal, and she's done. I now want to transport, so I'm going to spin my last idea, change that 4 into a 5, then use my 1 planning marker as a 1, and this 5 to do my transport, which is just going to let me take any 3 raw goods and bring them into my supply. I'll take both of those. Those are papyrus and 1 wood. Easy enough. This era's scoring category times 2. Dang. All the way up to 4 times 5. She's going to get 20 points for that. We now have to reset. Boom. Oh man, another low roll. That's not good. And I think I need to make this food. Ooh, unless... Yeah, no, I should make this food. And now that that marker has hit the end spot, that means we're going to sort of finish the round. And since I was the start player, that means that V.I.C.I is going to get another action, and then we'll each get a final action. And then that will be the end of the action phase. So let's see what V.I.C.I does. Okay, not resetting. 3 means that she is going to explore. And she'll explore in the place where she'll get to do the most exploration. And that's clearly right here. So she has these 2. And she's going to get points like we did. Okay, she's getting 2 and 1. So she's getting 3 points. So this Mushroom Valley here would give you +1 food if you're adjacent to it when you do a hunt action. Unfortunately, the swamp is not a very good place to do hunting. And then this Mystic Oak would give you either 1 or 2 points for being adjacent to it during the sight phase. And then she's also going to get to move on this track once. So now we get one final action. I kind of think just moving up and getting those 5 points is probably the best that we can do, especially considering our roll is so bad. So we'll do a 3 and a 2. We can do 1 activity, and we'll just make it that. And then she's going to get 1 final action, and it's going to be a reset. So we can't move that down any further, so it just stays there. And there we go. That's it. That's the end. We now move to phase 5, the sight phase, where we activate some of these sights and their special abilities. The first one are these Grim Wolves. They're going to steal one of our food because we're there. Now, V.I.C.I ignores this phase completely. None of these sights affect her. We would then activate glaciers if there were some glaciers out. We haven't found any yet. And then the Mystic Oak, we would get points if we were adjacent to it, but we're not. Again, V.I.C.I doesn't get those points. We now go to the feeding phase. So here we have to feed our tribes. We need 1 food per tribe that's on an encampment, and then we would need 2 food for a tribe that was in the wilderness. Right now we have 2 tribes, both in encampments, so we just spend 2 food. If we couldn't spend the food, then we would lie the tribe down. A tribe that is standing up is strong. A tribe that's laying down is weak. And if we couldn't feed a weak tribe, then they would die, and we would take them off the board. Some actions, like migration, for example, requires a strong tribe. Now, again, if we had a farm in the region, then that would feed all of our tribes that are there. At least the ones that are in encampments. Any that are in the wilderness would have -1 food, so they'd only cost 1 food. So farms are really helpful once your population starts growing. Now, right now, we've kept our population small. Then at the end of the feeding phase, we actually get a point for every one of our strong tribes. So we have 2 strong tribes, 2 points. Now, V.I.C.I does something a little bit different. You can see here, she has her markers laying down. That's because those aren't raw goods. Those are provision markers. So during the feeding phase here, she's going to look to see if she has some tribes that don't have a provision marker in their territory. So right now we just have this one. So they're going to get a provision marker. And then every provision marker is going to feed 1 tribe. If all the tribes' regions had a provision marker, then, one of them would get a second marker. And any region that has a second marker blocks the 1 space where you can place a farm. So that would keep us from building a farm there. So their members are all fed. Any tribe that doesn't have a provision marker, or say there were like 2 tribes in this region with just 1 provision, you would just lie them down. Their tribes don't get killed, they only get weakened. And then they're going to get points for every tribe, so they get 3 points. We now go to the event phase. And that's where we take a look at this event card. The first thing we do is we look at that weather marker, and that shows that the planet is cooling by 1. So we're going to move that weather token down 1. We then get to take the action that's there. In that case, that's an activity. And I was very excited about that because I have this cool activity that's going to let me advance my culture by 1. I crossed this line and I now have a choice. I could either move 1 more up that track there, which I really haven't shown off that track yet, but you'll see real shortly. So I could either move up 1 on that track, which is really good, or I could take an income tile. And there's 2 good ones there. I think I will take the income tile. Let's do this one. That's going to give us a procreation. And I'm going to put it right here. Again, now these are wild. These income tiles are wild, so I could place that anywhere, but I want to put it there, I think. And now we immediately refill that. We have a bag here with income tiles in them. Now we get to activate the event on the card. This is Leap in Evolution. It says that the civilization that has the highest total number of goods may take up to 3 of those and place them as any features. And this only applies if the civilization has the sole majority. Now in the multiplayer game, that's pretty obvious. In the solo game, we have to look here on this card that says Event Majority Check. This event is F19, so we look there, and that shows that the number of goods that we are going to assume that V.I.C.I has, because she doesn't collect goods, obviously, is the B column plus the C column plus the D column. So in this case, she has 1 in the B, 1 in the C. She has 2 goods. And as you can see here, we have 5. So we have won this card. We can take this action. We can convert up to 3 of these into features, and that's amazing. I am absolutely going to do that. I'm going to take 2 papyrus and 1 wood. I definitely want an extra vision because I have multiple cards here that need 2 vision. Now this might be a good time to talk about these attribute chips. These aren't things that we take actions to get. We just can take one of these once we fulfill the requirement. And they all have to do with these features. So you can see there on the left, like for this top one, this agile civilization, if you have 3 of the hands, which are dexterity, then you can remove 1 in order to get that special ability for the rest of the game. In this case, at the start of every feeding phase, you'd get to do a free hunt. And that sounds amazing. You also have Adept Civilization, which if you have 4 of those dexterities, you can remove 1. And then at every reset, you can just take a die and set it to any number. Ooh, that could be really valuable. So I think I will just dump these into dexterity, and I'll contemplate whether I want to jump straight into the Agile Civilization or maybe wait to get the Adept Civilization. Tough choice. We now get to score the era's scoring category. And in this case, it's culture. And you can see underneath there, we're going to get 5 points for every one of our culture on this track. We both have 4, so we're each getting 20 points. You then just remove that, and that's how you can track what era you're in. We're then going to give the start player token to whoever scored the most points, just for that scoring category. Now we tied, and in the case of a tie, you pass it to the next player. So V.I.C.I is going to be the start player for the next era. We now come down here to the income phase, and we get to activate each of our income tiles on our board. So here for this one, I get to take a new gold token. These gold tokens aren't great, but I'll take this clay one. And V.I.C.I does not participate in this. It's just me. And then I have this income here. Now, it shows this symbol, and that symbol means that we have to roll any pink dice that we have. In our case, we only have 1, and we're going to check it against our track over there. And this is where that track comes in, is really important, actually. So right now, our position shows that a 1 and a 2 is a success. As you move up that track, a 1 and a 3, then a 1 and a 4, and a 1 to a 5 becomes successful. So you get more successful at rolling this dice. Right now, I need to roll a 1 or a 2 to succeed. Not great chances. Okay. Now, we can use ideas to influence this and change our rolls on our pink dice as well. But nothing I can do about that one. That was just a failure. If I had succeeded, I would have gotten to place a person out. Okay, there we go. That is all of my income. We're now going to score for statues. And you can see here, V.I.C.I built a statue. So once again, we're going to look at that track. And you can see the position she's on. It shows 2 points per statue. So she gets 2 points. We now remove any hunting tokens that are out. We refill our reset markers here. And then we go back to the top and we start Era 2. We bring out new cards, so that means a new event. And it means a new card in each of these decks. And you just put it on top of the old one. And now we get new goals, and because V.I.C.I is first player, she rolls first. Okay, number 2. That goes away. And now I get to pick one before it gets refilled. Ugh, I don't really love those bottom 2. Yeah, let's just get this oil one. So we're just going to spend resources in order to get our goals met. We can now refill this. I can now get an extra find. We're still just in grassland or forest. I'll just get that oil. So I can fulfill that goal. And there we go. We're right back to the action phase of Era 2.